What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Chase Gentry. In today's video, I'm going to tell you what you can expect if you are going to be attending the Bronco Off-Rodeo experience in Austin, Texas.
Let's go!
Okay, so before we get started in this video, I'm going to try to keep things as short as possible because this was a full day of just non-stop, full throttle fun. So in order to keep this video not 4 hours long, I'm going to do my best to summarize everything in the most concise but informative way possible. So I've got my iPad here in front of me, so if you guys see me looking down, that's what I'm looking at. I got a bunch of notes so I can make sure I'm providing you guys with the most accurate information based off of my experience and why the off-rodeo is something that you should definitely consider going to, or is of extreme value if you're considering doing it. So before we get super deep into this thing, you guys have asked me a lot of questions either on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube primarily, and a lot of people have asked a lot of questions on the forums. I posted a few videos here and there from 2 trips to Moab, once to California, and then to Tennessee, and then now this. So a lot of you have asked questions on either the forums about the off-road experience in particular. So before we dive into it, I'm going to answer these questions. So hopefully it'll help you have a better understanding of what the Bronco Off-Rodeo experience really is and why it's so beneficial for upcoming customers, and why you maybe should go to it. So first question, who is eligible to attend? Not everybody is eligible to go to the Bronco Off-Rodeo experience. What? Right, okay, so the people that are eligible are Bronco owners, Bronco Sport Badlands, and Bronco Sport First Edition owners. Those are the people that are eligible to attend the Bronco Off-Rodeo experiences. Why is that important? Because I've seen on forums where several people have asked, I've registered or reserved the spot and haven't gotten any correspondence back. That might be why. I don't really know 100% on that, so you might want to dig into that. But I know for sure the people that are eligible are Bronco owners, Bronco Sport Badlands, and Bronco Sport First Edition holders. Those are the ones that are eligible immediately to go to the experience. Do you get to drive? Right. Everybody wants to get behind the wheel of a Bronco or a Bronco Sport. The Bronco Sports have been out for a little while, so you may have already had that opportunity either at a dealer or by way of a friend or something like that. But if you haven't been behind the wheel of a Bronco, you get to drive one, right? Oh, it was freaking amazing. So the caveat to that is, while you do get to drive, you do not get to select the trim level. So meaning, like, hypothetically, like if you ordered a 2-door Badlands Sasquatch, 2.7, 10-speed, and you're like, I want to drive that so I know exactly what I bought. You don't get to select the trim. You just get to drive a Bronco. Still super beneficial because a lot of vehicles have a lot of the same features, until you obviously switch packaging and trim level and stuff, but you still get a really good understanding of the capabilities of the Broncos. So that's the whole design behind this thing, is so you can really get a hands-on experience of the features, the capability, the technology behind these machines in a controlled environment off-road. So that way, whenever you do take delivery of your vehicle, you know how to use those features and stuff, and you're more comfortable being inside of your own vehicle. That's I think a lot of us, when you get something new, there's that little bit of I guess break-in period on you being super familiar with visibility, capability, ground clearance, departure, approach angles, breakover angles, stuff like that. So this is a really good opportunity to take what you own or going to own and go out and drive that. Again, my experience as a Team Bronco ambassador, I'll talk about that in a later video, was a little different from that of an owner, meaning I was able to drive both Bronco and Bronco Sport. You, if you're a customer, will not be able to do that. You only drive what you own or will own. So keep that in mind. My experience was a little bit different. Okay, next question. Can you bring a guest, and does it seem to be of good value if you're paying for a second driver? Yes, 100%. I will elaborate on why bringing a second driver is definitely worth paying for later on in the video, so stay tuned. Okay, next question. This one was asked quite a bit. How much time is spent driving versus instruction? Good question, right? Because a lot of the videos that's out there right now on YouTube and on forums, there's a lot of, you'll see instructors in the videos, kind of guiding people, making commands, stuff like that. So again, my experience at the Off-Road Experience was different because I'm a Team Bronco ambassador. So ours was sort of smashed into one day, whereas owners will have a day and a half. So, but my experience, we had just shy of 4 hours of drive time between the Bronco and the Bronco Sports, while basically getting instruction throughout the entire day. Meaning a portion of the day was spent specifically going over instruction, but while you're driving, you still have a lot of super educated instructors that are literally walking almost the entire course, giving out commands, telling you when to activate stuff. And I'll get into that in a little bit later, but 4 hours of drive time-ish almost for me. For owners, it might be a little different. I don't know that 100% because didn't really get to experience that. Again, mine was all smashed into one day, whereas owners, it's a day and a half. So that's that. Next question. Were you allowed to drive the high-speed sections, or was that instructor driven? Right, everyone's seeing the high-speed sections. My favorite part, actually. Yes, you do get to drive the high-speed sections. However, it is limited to 25 miles per hour in the Bronco Sports, and in the big Bronco, it's a tad faster. And I promise I didn't full send it. No, just kidding. I followed the instructions. Corey, Mike, and Brian were super adamant about not excessively speeding. But the high-speed section was really, really awesome for me, again, in my experience, because I was able to drive both. Owners, you will not be able to do that, unfortunately, but I was able to really get an idea of how capable the Bronco Sport is and the Bronco, but seeing the ride and handling characteristics of either of those vehicles, because obviously one is a ladder-on frame and one is not. So, the bigger Bronco, it's a little tall, a little bigger, whereas the Bronco Sport, you're a lot lower to the ground, so you feel a little more planted. So really neat seeing how those different vehicles handle. But yes, you do get to drive the high-speed section. Answer the question. Most important question, and this is sort of a lengthy part of this question, so I'm going to do my best to answer it as short as I can possible. What is the off-road experience designed to do, right? So what does that mean? Is it basically a full day of hardcore off-roading? No.
No!
It is not designed to be a free-for-all, do whatever, drive over whatever, wherever type of thing. And I'll elaborate on this, on what I mean. So a lot of questions and a lot of comments in the forums are like, oh, I'm tired of seeing these things not do, super challenging obstacles, or, why are you guys avoiding the rocks, or whatever you keyboard warriors out there are doing. It's not designed to do that, okay? It's designed to help Bronco and Bronco Sport Badlands and First Edition owners become a little bit more familiar with the vehicle's features and capabilities, okay? So, for seasoned or novice drivers, it's a super beneficial thing because you're getting firsthand teachable moments in a controlled environment on how each one of these features how it works. Technology has come a long way in the off-road industry. So the amount of technologies that's in these vehicles is really incredible. It does a lot of the thinking for you, and it inspires a ton of confidence. So, a lot of confidence is good, and it can be not good in certain scenarios. So that's why it sort of teaches you when you would use certain features, when you would activate certain modes, and stuff like that. For the novice, it's not only a great opportunity to learn about the vehicle, but it's also a great opportunity to learn the fundamentals behind, safety, recovery, and then just basic, off-road principles. A lot of that stuff isn't really taught if you didn't grow up doing it a lot, I guess. So for the novice driver, it's beneficial because you got guys that are teaching you this stuff that have been doing it literally the entire life. So, man, that's invaluable if you ask me. And again, for the off-road experienced person, the enthusiast, a lot of the stuff you're gonna know it. It's gonna be a good refresher. But again, it's a great chance to learn about Bronco's specific capabilities, features, and benefits. In an off-road refresher to your skill sets. Like would consider myself a pretty seasoned individual when it comes to off-roading and picking lines and all that kind of stuff. But you can always learn something new. So again, this experience isn't meant to be a technical, here's the keys, go drive over stuff day. Granted, that would be fun. But this is meant to show you how each feature and function on each Bronco or Bronco Sport would operate. That way, when you do get it, you can go do those things and can go challenge yourself and can challenge the Broncos, so that we know what you're doing. So hopefully it answers some of the main questions. There is a few more questions that people have asked, but that's the main ones that have been asked, sort of over and over and over again. So let's jump into my experience, right? So my experience as a Team Bronco ambassador was a little different than that which of an owner, like I already told you guys. Mine was 1 day, whereas owners is a day and a half. I got to drive both Bronco Sport and the Bronco, and owners will not get to do that. But my day basically consisted of us starting out at Horseshoe Bay, which is incredible. That place is amazing, super bougie. Coming from a guy that stays in a tent all the time, that place was super nice. I felt almost underdressed maybe. Anyway, very nice resort. You start off there, in 8:30 in the morning, we met down at the lobby where they provided us breakfast. And then we basically took off in Bronco shuttle vans, and they shuttled us to base camp, right? So base camp is where the Bronco off-rodeo experience is at, which is about 8 miles from the resort. Once we got to the base camp, we all unloaded out of the vans, and then we met inside the base camp lobby basically for a welcome tour. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, welcome tour basically means is we all got out, we made introductions to one another. I was there with a big group of ambassadors, a lot of incredible people. So we were able to introduce ourselves, kind of tell each other where we're from, a little bit of a backstory. The instructors and the staff there were all freaking amazing. They were just super excited to see us and have us there. And not just us too. There was a lot of other dealers and people cycling through this thing while we were there also. And you could just tell that everyone was genuinely happy to be there and excited to share information about these incredible vehicles to them. Whew, it's a lot of stuff. All right, so what else during the welcome tour? The base camp has a ton of info inside, right? Bringing back an iconic vehicle like this, there's a lot of history behind it. From when it was first introduced way back in the 60s, and of course up to now. So inside the base camp, there's a lot of vintage stuff about the Broncos, a lot of history behind it. On the walls we kind of show you those things. There's color painted hoods from previous generation Broncos. There's exclusive merchandise. This isn't one of them, but there's exclusive merchandise at each one of these locations that's only exclusive to Texas, and then the upcoming locations that are still yet to be determined. So after the welcome tour, we went to the ground school. So what's ground school, right? So we basically walk out of base camp. Right outside the building, they have a beautiful Velocity Blue two-door perched on top of some rocks. And they basically start going over the fundamentals, meaning, departure angles, approach angles, breakover angles, drivetrain stuff, things that maybe for the novice aren't super familiar terms. So they sort of break those things down to basically get you ready for the ORX course. Because again, some of these people hadn't done stuff like this before. So having a little bit more of an understanding of, what things are for, why you would need a locker, or what a locker really is. Let's start with that. Skid plate, stuff like that. That's sort of what the ground school is. It's just kind of going over the fundamentals of the vehicle and different things that are, I guess, across the board. All right, so after the ground school, we migrated to the beginning of the ORX course. Okay, what's the ORX course, right? I think that might, that's possibly maybe one of the single most important part of the day, meaning it's a very controlled setting for different scenarios where you physically have to activate each feature and function on the Bronco. And it kind of goes more in depth than that. Before we even started driving anything, they went over stuff like proper seating position, how important that is for, posture and visibility, proper parking procedures. Again, that was something I, knew, but, again, teaching people to be mindful of, properly securing a parking brake and, putting it in park, depending on if you're still in four-wheel drive or not, whatever. Again, sitting in a parking lot is no big deal, but like if you're, on a slope somewhere after you've already taken ownership of your Bronco, having fundamentals like that you've physically done, that, mind motor function that you've done it before, it's invaluable information. So again, for the novice and stuff, even not a novice, I mean, it was good for me too, and I'm a seasoned individual. And then they went over things like line of sight. You might need 22 feet ahead of you before you see a rock on the ground. Being able and aware of needing to see over your hood, and then seeing the trail in front of you. So they go over stuff like that. We got to drive through deep water. So water forwarding procedures. How to check the depth safely. Things that you should do before you just start driving through water. So that's, again, if somebody doesn't know that, that's, you either could go too deep and, sink your Bronco, or you might get water in your engine. There's a whole bunch of stuff that could possibly happen, that they sort of help give you the fundamentals and actually let you do it, which is neat. Also on the ORX course, they went over, trail turn assist, how and when you would use that. If you don't know what that is, it's a really cool feature where it basically will lock up a back tire and help you, pull the nose around a really tight turn. Super cool. So having a feature like that helps you not, stray away from a trail and, damage vegetation or, drive over stuff you're not supposed to drive over. So that's a really neat thing to learn about. And then they also go over, spotting, hand gestures. Some people have no idea what spotting even means or why you would need it. And you'll see in the video where they're spotting almost the entire time. Again, it's not because we may have really needed it. It was more just keeping people aware this is how and when you would spot and what you would do to help guide somebody. How to have your body in relation to the driver, not turning your back. If you turn your back, the driver needs to stop, all that kind of stuff. So again, the ORX course is a way for them to run you through, rock crawling scenarios, tipping scenarios, off camber scenarios. At one point the Bronco had, a tire up in the air. It kind of shows you how light the body can become. Corey actually grabbed the Bronco and picked it up and down just because it was so light on the front end. So again, being, cognitive of those situations might help you prevent yourself from, maybe rolling by getting it too top heavy, or by adding weight to the top of your vehicle, center of gravity changes, so they go over a lot of stuff in the ORX course. After we finished the ORX course, we basically went back to the base camp and we took a look at some accessories. With the Ford Bronco and the Bronco Sport, there is a ton of factory Ford Performance Offer accessories that Ford is offering or that they've partnered with. So we got a really good inside look at things for the Bronco Sport. There's bike racks you can put inside. There's roof racks. You can put a tent on top. There's just a bunch of really cool stuff, which is really, really neat. So they had a really neat accessory, stand set of if you will, little covered area that had all the accessories basically there: refrigerators, dog crates, traction boards, all kinds of stuff. Security boxes for the underneath the seat or in the console. That was Mike's favorite thing. So a lot of really, really neat accessories that's going to be available for the Broncos, and that's probably one of the things that I'm most excited about too, is all the toys we get to add to it, right? Right there by the accessories, since we were already there, they had a Bronco a four-door Bronco there, hardtop, and they went over how to properly remove the doors, how to properly remove the top. You know, kind of went over, you know, the proper procedures, where the toolkit's at, and stuff like that. So again, I know there's a lot of videos like that already out on YouTube, but you know, physically being there and watching it being done, you know, again, it's like we know how to do it, but when you see it like firsthand in person, you really, really know how to do it. So it's really cool to actually get to see them do that. So after we got to see all the Bronco accessories, we got to go drive the Bronco Sports. I think that's the part that everybody was most excited about, was actually getting to go drive these things, right? So we did a trail drive with the Bronco Sports. It was 75 minutes, where we got to, you know, put them through, you know, some water crossings, some creek drive-throughs, or driving through some creeks, some, you know, kind of slalom, high-speed stuff with the Bronco Sports. There were some muddy situations. You know, we got to activate the sport modes on them. You know, so really having a clear picture of what these vehicles are capable of is really awesome to see the difference between the Bronco and the Bronco Sport. Again, I was able to drive both. If you're an owner, you only get to drive one or the other depending on what you own. But being able to have that really good perspective personally on the differences, the similarities, you know, where one might shine over the other depending on the scenario, was really cool. You know, the Bronco Sport, for instance, obviously since it's lower to the ground, it corners and just handles amazing. So does the regular Bronco, or the Bronco, but again, they're gonna shine differently in different areas, whereas like the Bronco is gonna have a lot more ground clearance, all that kind of stuff, where the Bronco Sport won't. Versus like, you know, high speed stuff, the Bronco Sport felt very planted, obviously, right? So again, getting to really have that first-hand experience between the two was really neat. After we did the trail drive with the Bronco Sports, we went over some recovery stuff. They had a little bit of recovery equipment inside the back of the Bronco Sport. You know, had a tow rope, we had a D-ring, had a soft shackle, had traction boards. And they, you know, quickly kind of went over, you know, recovery points and recovery gear, you know, static and kinetic ropes, all the different things that you might need in the event of a recovery and how you would use some of those things, which again, invaluable information if you haven't ever done that before. So again, that's just another reason why this experience for everyone is so beneficial, because like you're getting all of it in one short period of time, where it's things that people have learned in the accumulation of years. So such a cool experience. All right, so after we had a chance to drive the Bronco Sports, we got to see some recovery gear, we got to do all kinds of cool stuff, right? At that point, I think everybody was a little hungry, a little hot, because we had all been sort of running around for the better part of half the day in Texas heat. So it was really nice to go back at the base camp and get some grub, kind of mingle a little bit, see some more of the stuff inside the base camp. I bought like, I don't know, four things. I think I bought 2 hats, a couple shirts, and then we cooled off a little while. So after we had lunch, this is what we're all waiting for, right? We finally got to go drive the Broncos. Truthfully, being honest, that's what I was most excited for this entire day, and I just couldn't wait for it to happen, because that's all I wanted to do from the time I woke up to the time I was finished driving. So, you know, the Bronco is an incredible machine. I could not wait to drive it. So the Bronco trail drive was 2.5 hours long, right? So in order to keep this video not from being longer than it already is, I'm gonna, again, summarize this in the best way possible. Let me just tell you what, I absolutely love this machine. It is incredible. You know, my background is cars. Was a, you know, automotive technician for a little while. I got a lot of gear experience. I'm a gearhead at heart, right? So this machine is just phenomenal. The specs that it has, the capability it has is crazy. So when you're talking about how capable this thing is and how much excitement is behind it, a lot of people have commented on my stuff and on forums like, Why does it look like you guys aren't actually testing and using these things? Don't tell me that a Badland Sasquatch is, that's way too much vehicle for that type of terrain. You're 100% right. Again, like I said earlier, this day isn't meant to be a hardcore technical day of off-roading. While there is a lot of technical off-roading, that's not what this is about. This is about learning the features, functions, full capability, and all the fundamentals about the Bronco and the Bronco Sport. So this is again, 2.5 hour section of course that's very well thought out and designed so that way when you're out there, you get to use every single goat mode, every single feature and function on the Bronco. So that way you are 100% comfortable and familiar with how and when you would operate each of those things when you take ownership. So after you take ownership, then you can go do all the crazy hardcore technical stuff and drive over Mount Everest and whatever else you want to do, right? So keep that in mind, that this experience isn't meant to go be a full, just free-for-all day of wheeling. That's not what this is. It's better than that, because you get to go out and play with something that belongs to Ford and learn everything about it and how and when you would use it. So, 35s, lockers, front and rear, skid plate, all the just bells and whistles that these things have. We got to drive them through, a lot of creek. We've had a lot of rain up here in Texas recently, so there's a lot of water still standing. So we got to drive through a lot of water, a lot of mud. There was several scenarios where the Broncos were highly off camber, where it would show a scenario where one tire would be light, or the opposing tires would be light, where you'd have to activate the front and rear locker to pull yourself over an obstacle. High center spots where it's showing the breakover angles, the approach angle coming down, coming back up. In Texas, as a Texas native, there's not excessive terrain like you would find in Utah or something, but there is enough stuff at this course that again allows the vehicle to be challenged in a very controlled environment to where you can activate those features on a safe spot to learn, oh, this is when I would need that mode, or oh, this is when I would need to disconnect the stabilizer bar, or oh, this is when I would need to activate the front locker, or oh, this is when I would need to use the trail turn assist to hug around this turn. So that's why this whole thing was put together. So, sorry, there's a mosquito flying around. Anyway, and you'll see throughout the entire course of some of this footage that I'm showing that, there's instructors basically spotting the entire time. Not necessarily because we needed spotting. It's more of just keeping people reminded on, okay, this is when you would potentially need a spotter and how you would spot. So we have our windows down the entire time. So on each scenario, when we come up to something, again, it's just reminders like, hey, go ahead and activate the front locker, hit that third button over to disconnect the, whatever the feature we were doing. But that way, it's that mind motor function to know, oh, this is when I would do that based off of what the vehicle's doing. So that's a lot of what the trail drive for the Bronco and the Bronco Sport are for. Don't get me wrong, it's very fun and there's a lot of fun wheeling to do with it. You're still gonna get to do all that stuff, but if you're wanting to do those crazy videos you see on YouTube where that's not what this is. It's not meant to be that. It's again to show you all of those features and functions, the technology, the cameras. There's a lot of tech. The off-road world and technology have come a long way, and I think for a long time they've been really segregated. And now, with the Bronco, it's just so perfectly crafted together, where it takes a lot of the thinking out of it. Somebody like my wife was to get behind the wheel of the Bronco. It would be very easy for me to show her, hey, we're about to drive over some rock, put it in rock mode. You know what I mean? Or, hey, that's very muddy and slippery, put it in mud, or, hey, we're gonna be, we live here at the beach, we go to the beach all the time, put it in sand mode, or whatever. So, that's where this is super beneficial, to really go there and understand when and how you'd use those things. So, and even for me, that's somebody that's seasoned, before, my previous vehicle, you would have to do a lot of other things to do stuff. Whereas, the Bronco, it's it's like I said a while ago, it's so carefully crafted together. It's easy and it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it for you. So that's where this course really shined, is you know, being able to, okay, this is a scenario, we're going to go up some slick rock, you know, let's activate, you know, this feature to help show you how more you know, capable or, you know, traction aiding we get, whatever the case may be, to get over this obstacle. So that was the end of the day after the trail ride. You know, we came back to base camp after that. We sort of cooled back down a little bit in the base camp, and I think I bought some more stuff, and then we kind of hung out for a little while. They have live music every Thursday at the Bronco Off-Road Experience here in Texas. So if you do happen to go on a Thursday, they'll have live music there, which is super cool. They got a game of cornhole outside, and we all just kind of hung out and like cooled down. And you know, I know personally, I asked a few questions about, you know, certain things at the end of the day. Of course, you know, you're driving around all these things all day long. You know, questions come up as you sort of unwind and start thinking about stuff. So it's a good opportunity to sort of mingle and ask any pending questions that you may have had from the day's experience. So hopefully this was a little bit helpful if you're considering going to the Bronco Off-Rodeo. Again, this is about the Texas location here in Austin. This is my backyard, so that's why, you know, I wanted to sort of do a video about it. The day was very busy for me because, again, it was one day of a lot of stuff. So rather than me sort of like trying to vlog and, you know, show you every single thing that we did, I figured this would be a better way to summarize the day and kind of give you an idea of what you can expect if you are planning to go or signed up to go or considering going. Hopefully this helped, guys. It was a lot of information, like a lot. I have it all here. It took me like a long time to write this down. So if you liked the video, like the video. If you've liked my previous videos, thank you so much. And I would invite you to please subscribe. YouTube is it's a lot of work. So all you YouTubers out there, I commend you guys because I get it. And I'm still learning too. So again, you know, your feedback and comments is very motivating to keep pushing forward and keep learning, keep getting better. Also, I will be getting a two-door Badlands Sasquatch next month, antimatter blue hardtop. So if you want to see me specifically covering stuff with that or doing things with it, destinations you would like me to see attempt with it, drop me a comment, let me know. Or if you want me to, whatever. I mean, just give me ideas, basically. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. We will see you in the next one.